lot. This was not technically an end-of-season press conference. It was Jerry Dipoto speaking with reporters from the dugout, and we have so much to get to. So let's start with a little bit of what he learned about his offensive approach.
It's funny, this year, and we've talked for years about, dominating the zone, the desire to. Our pitchers have done it extraordinarily well. Our hitters have been unbelievable for years now, the frequency with which they draw a walk, and we've really struggled through the years to command the contact, and that's part of it. And Edgar really slowed that down for our hitters. And, thinking about an at-bat in a different way when you get into a two-strike count, being more aggressive on the front end and not allowing yourself to get deeper into counts against pitchers you might not match up well against with their put-away pitch.
He also said Edgar emphasizing scoring runs over launch angle has been a positive for us. So Jerry Dipoto very clearly saying Edgar has overall been a boon coming here as a hitting coach.
Yeah, and that makes sense because we spoke to Edgar, and that's exactly what he said. He's I loved his approach because it was get away from all the analytics, put the ball in play, and don't try to hit home runs. Home runs will happen naturally if you just square it up and do your thing. Yeah, if you look at the numbers, I don't know what the specific metrics are when it comes to all the data. I'm just knowing what I watch since Edgar's been there and what I feel, and it feels like the approach is a lot more solid, and these guys are more comfortable. Maybe he's just the batter whisperer, where he just whispers sweet nothings in their ear, and they just figure it out and say, "Well, Edgar said it. Edgar said it, so you can do it." It's like when you get information from somebody.
Yeah,
I can get advice from somebody. I'll just nod my head. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I ain't listening to you. Now someone else. I work with a lot of people who do things that I want to do. I'm taking notes. I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, I got you.
Well, that is the approach for batters. Jerry Dipoto has also learned that the front office needs to change their approach. I thought that you'd be very interested in this part of the conversation.
Like I do with every season that doesn't result in winning the World Series, a learning experience. I think a lot of our players learned. I learned a lot. I know our staff learned a good deal. We learned some things not to do. We learned where we may be doing things the wrong way, and we have to make adjustments, not just in approach on the field, but in how we put the roster together, and maybe in some of the things we're looking for, and in how those things fit in our ballpark. Maybe that's been the greatest lesson for us this year. Hopefully we're able to adapt the lessons we've learned to building the 25 team. But like I said, I think most of that is already on the field.
So what's it mean in terms of our ballpark? He adds this.
And I think it's, again, credibility that goes a long way. That is something that we could take that approach, pull the ball hard in the air to 28 other ballparks, and some of the best offenses in baseball do that thing. We do it in as pronounced a way as any team in baseball. And our ballpark might not be conducive to doing it quite the way we have. And we're, shame on us for taking this long to understand that or learn it. We've been a good run-scoring offense on the road. I think we can be a good run-scoring offense both at home and on the road with a more balanced approach. And again, I don't want to continue to beat that drum. The team has shown that they are capable of doing that.
What do you think?
Okay, there's pluses and minuses when it comes to this. Okay. The plus is, it sounds like he's saying, we haven't gotten the right players for our ballpark.
Yes.
Or our approach hasn't been conducive to success when you factor in our ballpark. And shame on us for taking this long to figure that out. Good for you. You've looked in the mirror. You looked at data, the players you've recognized, and I know you saw Gino have 100 RBIs with the Diamondbacks, Teo having 30 bombs with the Dodgers, and you're saying, all right, our approach and the players we're getting is not conducive to success in our ballpark. So why did it take so long? Why? You looking at everything else? And this isn't like the ballpark situation is something new.
No.
We talk about this all the time.
There was an article about this.
This is real. As much as people want to say, stop blaming the ballpark and the players, it is real. If I play at Martin Stadium, I know that it's an east-west sunrise, and that ball's going to be in the air when I do punt return, so I got to adjust. It's the same thing. So I'm happy that they addressed it and they recognize it, but now it's like, all right, so what you're telling me is you're gonna switch up how you've been evaluating, right? Just please do that, because you put it out there for the public to hear that it is a real thing.
Here's a bit more about struggles finding players in free agency.
That's been more of a struggle for us, but for as many players as that we've brought in and have struggled at what you would think to be the primes of their career, we've been pretty good as a scouting staff and bringing in players through the years, like the early versions of Mitch and Marco and JP and Ty France and, Luke Raley, guys that are at a stage in their career where they're hungry for opportunity, and we provide it. I wouldn't change a whole lot about what we're doing there, but the type of player we're targeting who's already in what I would say is the prime of his career, maybe we take another look at the way they're doing it. And
here's an important thing about bringing in players in the later stages of their career versus early stages. The players that you're pointing to where you think you did that well, and you did, were A, young, B, you got them in trades, and you got them in trades when you won. We're not talking about free agents when we're talking about Marco, when we're talking about young Ty, when we're talking about going and getting all these guys. You didn't get those guys as 30-year-old free agents. What we're talking about is, okay, well, Jerry, what do you do this offseason when you're looking for, a new second baseman if you don't hang on to Jorge Polanco, or when you're looking for a third base? Like, what do you do there? Is it to make a trade? And if it is, then sure, don't change that approach. It's worked so far. But the questions about these free agents you're signing, there's something fatally amiss there.
Yeah. He did a good job pointing out the names that have worked out at some point.
Right.
And as he should. We cannot expect Jerry Dipoto to sit there and just poop on himself and the organization and what they've done. There have been some positives, and we'd be dumb to ignore those positives. But I think what you're saying is exactly right. It's like, okay, we know those guys are good, but we're talking about like prime time players. Like, bring those guys in. Let's see if one of those can work out. We haven't even been able to see them take a long shot, grab an all-star or a baller, bona fide baller, and see if it works out. We haven't gotten one of those. I think the closest you've gotten over the past few years is Teoscar, and that didn't work out. I wouldn't say he was just a bona fide superstar. He was a solid veteran who had made plays in the playoffs, and that makes complete sense to me. But yeah, and it's hard because, look, that the man has his hands tied when it comes to spending and what he can and can't do. And to his defense, the way that he's operating, he thinks is the best way for this team to have success. The challenge now is going to be that you've noticed a whole bunch of flaws in the process. He also said we put out 4 good teams in the last 4 years. I mean, they're cool, but if you're leaning on what you did the last 4 years, again, it just makes me concerned again because it sounds like you're going to do the same thing. So it's like he's going back and forth. It's like, all right, we noticed we got to fix some things. Hey, but we've been all right. We've been doing pretty good. It's never just, hey, we got to switch things up, and we're going to try to put the best baseball team out there. If he just said that, we got to switch things up. Our approach hasn't been okay. We do have some good pieces, but now it's trying to stack and go out there and win. I think the public will feel a lot better about it.
I absolutely agree. And to build on that point, your job wasn't to put out a good team. Your job was to put out a really good playoff team, to put out as close to a World Series team as you could feasibly create. Like, you can't say, oh, well, one of the positives we've had is 4 consecutive winning seasons. That is objectively a positive. That is objectively something that is good. But your job 4 years ago wasn't your job in 2020, heading into 2024. You had a bigger job, right? When you're doing a rebuild, it's not this kind of like hit a plateau and stay here. The idea is that you build towards something. Your job was to win the division. Your job was to get a World Series team together. You can't then point to the bar that you cleared from 4 years ago and say, well, we cleared that same bar. We had a winning season. That's not the bar anymore.
No, it's not. It's a different bar.
I know.